let us move along to our next guest. I'm really excited about this. I know a lot of you are as well. In a matter of seconds, we are going to be joined by, right now, the most decorated wrestler from the great country known as the US of A. He is a 4-time world champion. He is a former Olympic gold medalist from the 2012 game. He is a multiple-time All-American back in the day, University of Nebraska, multiple-time national champion. This man is a beast. He is the face of American wrestling. And on May 6th, he will be competing at the Beat the Streets event here in New York City. Well, a couple hours from here in New York City at the Hulu Theater attached to Madison Square Garden. He'll be going up against our guy, Ben Askren, in a dream match of sorts. At 79 kilograms, it will be Jordan Burroughs against Ben Askren. Wow, in a freestyle exhibition wrestling match. This is exciting stuff, and now we are being joined by wrestling royalty, Jordan Burroughs, a.k.a. All I See Is Gold. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. Ariel, thanks for having me on your show, bro. I've been a big fan for a long time. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. This is great. This is a real honor for us. Thank you for doing it. I know you're very busy, so I really appreciate the time.
Indeed.
So let's start with how this came about, because when I broke the news last week, the wrestling community, everyone, even casual wrestling fans, like, whoa, everyone knows Jordan Burroughs. Even if you aren't a wrestling person, everyone knows who you are, and of course, everyone in MMA knows Ben. How did this match come about?
Well, Ben preceded me in my wrestling career. He was an Olympian in 2008 at the same weight class that I compete at now. And I was the Olympian that followed him in 2012 in London. And so I think that this has been something that's been imminent. Everyone has wanted it to happen for such a long period of time, but when he made the transition to MMA, a lot of people thought that he had a lot of wrestling left within him. And he's dabbled with the sport a little bit in the past, and he's done some really cool things to enhance and grow the reputation that wrestlers have in the UFC and in MMA in general. And so I think once a match was on the table, like, okay, let's create an awesome matchup that people can get behind, get excited about. Who can this guy be? What individual can really generate and move the needle and create buzz that we need in the wrestling community? And Ben was that guy, and he's always willing to elevate his brand and put something on the line. So it's cool to see. I'm glad that he accepted the challenge, and it's going to be a great match.
Have you ever competed against him in any way, shape, or form?
No, Ben is a few years older than me. So when I was a freshman in college, Ben was a senior in college, right? So he was the man. When I was coming up, I was a young buck. I wasn't at this elite level and status that I'm at this point in time. So I watched him and idolized him. He was an icon in our sport. And so then when I started to come into my own, establish my own identity, I'm like, man, I think I could beat this guy. Like, I'm better than this guy. So this is the first time that we'll ever get a chance to compete. We've rolled around a little bit, but this is the first time that legitimate official matchup with referees and fans and excitement, and that there's something on the line. So it'll be cool.
Okay, but so you have trained together, right?
Yeah, we rolled around.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Who gets the better of who?
I'm gonna wait till May 6th to let you guys know. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too soon.
Okay.
It's not fair, and I get a lot of respect for Ben. I think he's I wonder how he's preparing. Like, I wonder what he's doing right now, because he's ingrained so tightly into the UFC culture, and I know he has a fight coming up, but I wonder how he's preparing for this, because it presents a unique matchup for him.
My impression is he's taking this very seriously. He's training for this like it's a fight, like his current career fighting. Are you doing that? Because I know you have world championships coming up as well.
Yeah, well, I'm always training hard. I'm always prepared. I'm always ready for any opponent. So I'm preparing for the very best wrestlers in the world. So that's why going into this matchup with Ben, and not to say that Ben isn't a great wrestler, but I'm preparing for the most elite guys in the world: Russia, Azerbaijan, Iran. And so this is, I don't want to call it a novelty or any showmanship, but when I go out there to compete, I compete to win. And this is no different.
Ben reached out to me last night, and you know, if you follow his MMA career, he likes to ruffle feathers. He likes to get under his
He
opponent's
does.
skin.
He hasn't done that to me though.
Well,
Like,
that's the
I
thing.
think he has so much respect for me that he's like, listen, let's just compete, let's have a good time. Typically, like, I follow him on Twitter, so he gets into people's heads and under their skin. But for me, he hasn't thrown any shots at me, which I appreciate and respect. But because I think he knows
Well, the thing
that
is, I
there's
don't
levels to
expect it to
this.
happen, because he told me, don't even try. He goes, I know you like to stir the pot. Don't even try to stir the pot, because I have the utmost respect for him, and none of that is coming out of my mouth. I was like, come on, Ben, there's got to be something there. Really? Nothing? You got
And
nothing?
likewise,
Really?
I have a ton of respect for Ben as well. But it's gonna be fun, bro. Like, I'm so excited for this event. This is one of the first times in a long time that I think that non-traditional wrestling fans are getting excited and behind a wrestling matchup. Just like seeing some of the tweets from earlier today, like, well, who is this? All I see is gold guy. Who is Jordan Burroughs? Why is he on the show?
Yeah.
But I think that after watching me compete, because essentially when you think about the champions in the UFC right now, a lot of them are former wrestlers, done
Yep.
extremely well in the UFC. And then you look at takedown defense, takedown offense, how important it is to have a solid ground game, and how heralded being a quality wrestler is in the UFC community. So then you step outside of the UFC into elite Olympic level wrestling, and you see that as good as the guys in the UFC are, there's still another level to that. And that's the one that we are on, myself and David Taylor, Kyle Day, Kyle Snyder, all of these guys. And so it's good, man. I appreciate this platform and the opportunity to do this, but I'm doing it for the wrestlers.
Is there a part of you also that feels like, I mean, obviously you want to test yourself against them. There's a great backstory there, but as you know, it always seems like wrestling is kind of in the shadows in combat sports and sports in general. We know about the saga with the Olympics. It's in, it's out. Do you feel like this is the
Yeah,
kind of stuff that wrestling needs to do to attract the casual fan, and that's part of the motivation to do this as well?
absolutely. Absolutely. Because I know everyone that knows and appreciates and respects Ben and what he's done, they appreciate him because not only is he a quality fighter, but because of his background in wrestling. The non-traditional wrestling fan hears Olympian, two-time NCAA champion, two-time Hodge Trophy winner, like, wow, this guy was amazing. He still has a shot. He's been out of the game for a long time, but he's got a shot. And that's awesome, and that's exciting. And I think that is necessary for this sport to continue to thrive. I try to be a trailblazer as often as possible, so we can step out of that niche group of fans and out of that misfit representation and really step into the spotlight. And people say, "Hey, listen, wrestling is really cool as well."
So we have a lot of in common, Jordan and I, because first of all,
Oh yeah.
share the same birthday, July 8th, my man,
Yay,
Cancer,
let's go. Cancers, holla at me.
respect. Buffalo Bills fan?
What? You from Buffalo?
No, but I just love the Bills. In
Get
fact,
out of here.
look, I have them on my
Go
desk.
Bills.
Look at that.
That's crazy. My wife's uncle is Thurman Thomas.
What?
And so yeah, so Thurman Thomas is
No way.
like family. We call him Uncle Thurm. He's not even Thurman
Your
Thomas.
wife's uncle is Thurman Thomas, number
It's
34,
Thurman Thomas,
Oklahoma
number
State.
34.
What?
I've been to a ton of Bills games. I've hung out with Bruce Smith and
Come on.
Daryl Talley and all these guys. Yeah, bro. We went to his retirement party and game. And he's family.
Oh my. Wait,
I'm a Bills fan through and through.
were you a
I
Bills
got to
fan
speak.
before you met your wife?
No, by association. I was
Okay.
actually a Broncos fan before
Okay.
I met my wife, and yeah, so like I got a chance to speak with Coach McDermott and the rest of the Bills team at training camp last year. Like
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
ingrained. I love the Bills, bro. I'm a big Bills fan.
Next time you go, now we have each other's numbers. Don't be a stranger. All right.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. No
Wow.
doubt.
That is. I know that Thurman went to DC's fight when he fought in Buffalo. The two Oklahoma State guys.
Yeah, he's a big fan.
They had a moment there, but I had no idea. That's incredible. Okay, so we share that in common. You're 30. You're about to turn 31, but you're still for the uninformed. You're still actively competing in wrestling, correct? This is your full
Yeah,
time
yeah,
job.
absolutely. Absolutely. And so anyone who thinks that I'm detracting from what Ben's doing, equally so, I'm going away from and stepping away from what I'm doing as an athlete, as a competitor, because we are preparing for. I'm actually competing this weekend. I'm headed to Buenos Aires, Argentina tomorrow
Wow.
to compete at the Pan Am Championships on Sunday. And so a lot of stuff going on right now. We got the World Team Trials in June, the World Championships in Kazakhstan in September, and then obviously the next Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan next summer in 2020. So I'm right in the thick of it as well. I know he has a lot of things coming up, but as do I. So that's why I feel like we're equally putting something on the line so people can just appreciate and respect what we're both doing for both of our respective sports. He's a wrestler, he's a fighter, and this is going to be fun.
And so part of my ignorance, because I'm used to the fight game, obviously, do you get paid to compete
Yeah,
in these events? Are you paid by the event? Or are you paid by the
I
sponsor?
do a lot less than what you guys get paid in the
Yeah,
UFC. But I think that's why a lot of the former wrestlers make that transition
right.
because is not a very lucrative sport that we're involved in. If you're a wrestler and you do it at this high of a level, you do it for the glory and the honor of considering yourself one of the toughest guys in the world. And so when I hear people say MMA is the toughest sport in the world or MMA is the best sport in the world, that's how I feel about wrestling. And more so because you don't get as much recognition or fame. You don't have celebrities ringside. You don't get to compete in Vegas. You don't get to make hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars per fight, depending upon your status. And so think about all those things that those guys do to compete, and now, right, kind of negate a lot of the luxuries that you guys get, and that's what you have in wrestling. And so it's a sport that I've grown to love and I really appreciate. But yeah, it's fun, man. I'm in it. I'm in the thick of it. And I have an appreciation for the UFC too. I've been a big fan for a long time. I've watched a lot of my former teammates and friends and peers go on to do amazing things at the in the octagon. So it's really cool.
We'll get to that in a second, but I'm just curious. You are going to try out for the 2020 team, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal for me.
And is that like, do you have an age where you're going to stop competing? Do you know, or you haven't decided yet?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'd say wrestlers' primes are probably around this time. Most guys don't wrestle past 30 to 32. I'm
Right.
30. And then I look at the UFC, right, and I see guys really start to get into themselves and find themselves athletically at this age, 32 to 34 years old. And so I don't know. I don't know, bro. I've considered a lot of options. That's something I have to sit down with my family after 2020 and say, hey, listen, how do I feel? Where do I want to live? Do I want to continue to compete? Am I still hungry? Do I still love it? There are a lot of intangibles that are going to go into factor in whether I decide to continue to wrestle or not. So we'll see.
What are the chances that you follow in the footsteps of many great American wrestlers and eventually move over to MMA?
I listen. I would love to. I just want to fight one time. That's it.
Oh,
I want one fight. I
okay.
just want one fight. Um, because like for me, it's not about the status, not about the glory, it's not about the money. Like I just want to throw my hands and see what I'm made of. And I think that wrestlers and fighters have that same fighting spirit. Like there's just a spirit about you that it's it's such a beautiful art form in which you can implement strategy in order to subdue another individual. And I really feel like that's in wrestling and UFC. We collaborate in that way. And I've always thought about it. I've considered it when I was young. I was like, listen, I'm going to fight. I want to be a star. I'm going to fight. And then as I got better at this sport and I started to become an icon in what I was already doing, I'm like, man, I can't leave wrestling. Wrestling world needs me. I'm great at this. People love me. I inspire generations of people. And so I've thought about it. I've considered it. I don't know if I'm really gonna do it, but I've considered doing just one fight and then getting out with my hands clean. I don't want to get punched and beat up. Like if you lose a wrestling match, you get taken down, right? You might get put to your back or pushed out of bounds. You lose a fight, you got choked out, something's broken, right? You got knocked out. It's rough. It's a rough existence. I've never had to go to the hospital after a competition in wrestling, so it's a different game in the MMA world.
Wow. I have to say, first of all, I'm shocked that you've never had to go to the hospital once in your entire incredible career. That's impressive in its own right. But
No, bro.
I'm getting a little tingly here. Jordan Burroughs MMA fight to me is a big deal. Um,
Just one. Just
just
one. I just want
really, we can start with
one
one.
fight deal.
But what if
One fight deal
what if
and
you
I'm
knock
out.
the guy out in 10 seconds and you're like, I like this?
Or what if I knock him out and I'm like, I don't like this.
Well, I tend to
You
be
know
a
what I
more
mean?
positive guy. But so this is the thing. You are before it's all said and done. You are saying right now you will have at least one MMA fight.
Oh no, I can't make any promises. I'm saying I consider it. It depends on what the offer was like and who my opponent was. I consider it, but I don't know, man. It's intriguing. It's definitely intriguing. I think every wrestler has thought about it for a period of time. I'm so comfortable with my identity as a wrestler that if I never fought, it wouldn't bother me one bit. But I'm also such a competitor that I've considered it for a long period of time. Like, man, what about just one?
Oh
What could I
man.
do? Could I let my hands fly? Could I put someone out? So we'll see. I got to talk to my wife about it. She's probably shaking her head listening right now.
I feel like within 5 minutes of us saying goodbye, Scott Coker is going to call you and put you on that training camp program and secure. Anyone would be smart enough to do that. Now, have you ever actually sparred? Have you ever gone punched in the face?
Never,
Okay, so you don't know
never.
what it feels like because sometimes guys don't like it, right? once it happens.
Yeah, but I mean, I've had things done to me, right, within a
Right.
wrestling
Right.
match. So, like, I don't think it's considerably different. Like, I honestly don't think it's considerably different. I seen guys in the wrestling room break mentally, and guys that I didn't think were super tough go on to be extremely amazing fighters. So, like, I think my mental toughness and my athleticism and my physical prowess is I'd be successful if I decided to fight, no matter what.
Have you talked to any of the guys who have made the transit, the DCs of the world, the Bens of the world? Have you talked to them about really?
I've talked to DC quite a bit, yeah.
Oh man, DC
Um,
holding out on me.
it's
He never told me about this.
yeah. He actually invited me out to be on his show last year on The Ultimate Fighter. And so yeah, DC's an awesome guy, man. He's an awesome guy. He he's kind of that hand. He's that facilitator between wrestling and MMA world. He's done a great job of keeping his hand inside of wrestling and always reaching out and being like a big brother and showing love to me. Um, but yeah, he like when I talk to him about like, yo, what's the difference? Like, what do you feel? Is it easier? Is it harder? And he says like it's considerably easier. And
Oh,
maybe because DC is such an amazing athlete that him moving up to heavyweight, just the way he moves, the type of things that he's been through, the structure of life and that he's had is just different. I think that's one thing that's great for wrestlers is because we've started from a young age. Most people don't do their individual disciplines from such a young age. I started wrestling at 5 years old. I My first weight class was 45 pounds. So I've been wrestling for almost 25 years, right? I went to the structure of high school. I went to a Division I university with the best facilities and amazing coaching staff. I went through the structure of being in a Division I program for 5 years. So it's easy for me to always make weight, always be on time, live a life of integrity, train at my highest level, give 100% effort, stay clean with the things that I put into my body. I think that's just part of the spirit of what we've arrived from and what we've been built from for wrestlers, and I think that's why we're so successful.
and so I'm wondering. I remember you put out the tweet prior to the Khabib Connor fight about saying like, oh, you'd help Connor prepare. Did anything ever happen there? Was there ever any talks about you helping Connor prepare for that fight?
No, I've never met Connor. I've
Okay.
never met Connor, bro. But the cool thing about it is like this matchup presents an amazing opportunity for me because a lot of people will consider Ben Askren probably one of the best wrestlers in all of the UFC. And so if I go out there and put the hammer on Ben Askren, right, people will understand like there's levels to this wrestling game. And so anyone who's looking to become a better wrestler in that middle to welterweight division, I'm the guy to come see, right? So like if you're anywhere from 145 to 185 pounds and you want to get better at wrestling and you see the status and the level of which we are competing at, then you want to come and see the best. Like I'm that guy. And so I think this presents a pretty cool opportunity for me.
Well, and but they never reached out to you to help prepare.
No, I've never met Connor. That
Okay.
was complete fabrication. I don't even know where that came from. Like they
Oh,
were like, "Yo, JV's training Connor." I'm like, "Oh, that's news to me." I found out the same way you guys found out. Somebody tweeted it to me. I had no idea. I'm like, I'm training for the World Championships myself. Like,
yeah.
yeah. So I'm trying to beat Russia on my own. I'm not trying to help him beat Russia.
That is well said. Has any MMA fighter ever reached out to you to help them? You got your own
I
career.
have.
You that has
I've had a
happened,
couple of guys that have reached out to me.
but it's
Yeah.
never come to fruition.
It hasn't. It
Okay.
hasn't. It just hasn't worked out for me because I've got my own career, my own thing that I'm doing. But probably the guy that I've wrestled with most in MMA is Mirsad Bektik.
Uh-huh.
He actually lives in Nebraska, and so when he's not training with Fierce up in I believe he was training in Florida, and he does some stuff in Canada as well. But we've rolled around a couple of times, and so yeah, he's pretty solid.
Okay. So you're leaving to Buenos Aires this weekend. That's the Pan
I
Am
am.
Games. And when are the World Championships?
They aren't until September. We got some time.
Okay, so it's Pan Am, then it's Askren. Anything in between the Askren match and the World Championships, or you just spend the rest of that time preparing for the World Championships?
World Team Trials, we still gotta make the team, bro.
Oh,
Like
damn. Okay.
there's no roster in
Okay.
wrestling. You gotta compete to make the team every single season. So there'll be a World Team Trials and then the World Championships, and next year there'll be Olympic trials and the Olympic Games. And so basically the trials are just a tournament at every weight class. The winner of that tournament goes on to represent the United States of America at the Games or the World Championships.
Wow, that's amazing. What a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
world than
So
the
it's
one
pretty cool.
that we currently. And you're in the Olympic Training Center right now, correct?
I'm in Colorado Springs as we speak. Yes, sir.
Wow. And what are you, like, in a dorm or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Come
We're in
on,
a
really?
listen. We're humble living, bro.
Damn, you're
Humble
Jordan
living here.
Burroughs. You should have a
I
mansion over
know,
there.
man. I'm out here grinding. That's how you stay tough. That's how you
Wow.
stay tough. I like the grittiness that occurs when I'm here.
And I would imagine your relationship with USA Wrestling and the USOC is a little different. Like I know Ronda Rousey has spoken about how she has, not the best feelings now that she's out of that system. It seems like the
I
experience has
got you.
been good for you.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good. They've always treated me well, and I've always earned that respect because of my performances and the way that I treat people. But they've always done an amazing job and treating me with the utmost respect and giving me a status in terms of helping me to elevate my brand and connect with sponsors and take care of my family. They've done an amazing job. I'm always happy to be a part of USOC and USA Wrestling.
Well, I'm happy to talk to you for the first time. This has been great, Jordan. And
Yeah,
by the
bro.
way, I like the fact that I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, I like the fact that pro wrestling is what got you into this kind of wrestling, correct? Like you were a big Macho Man
Yeah, I
fan
was
back in the day?
huge wrestling fan. Huge wrestling fan when I was a kid. Like I'm talking, we had all the action figures, we had
Yes.
the ring, we had fake belts. Like every
Yes.
time we go to Target when we were kids, we go straight to the aisle that they had all the
Yes.
wrestlers in. We see which new ones they had up. Like, oh, we need to get this one. Um, and we used to play the video games Raw and SmackDown. Like we would make our own characters and like fight each other in the crib, jumping off the top of bunk beds, dropping elbows on people's heads. Like we were into it. We were into it when I was a kid. It was awesome, man.
That's incredible. And would you consider that, or you're not as into that, right?
No, I'm not as into that because that's more of like that's acting, right? Like
Right.
I'm a competitor. Like I like to compete. I don't want someone to determine the status of my match before I even get out there to compete in it. It's fun to watch. I actually took my son to a Thursday night SmackDown that they had in Lincoln a few years ago. He was a bit confused. He was like, "Dad, what is this?" But it's fun, and I'm a big fan of it, and I've always appreciated it. So it's something that I always enjoy, and I always hold it near and dear to my heart because it's how I got started in the sport.
Jordan, I wish you the best. Good luck this weekend. Good luck on May 6th. Good luck making the team, World Championship, Olympic team, all that and more. This has been great. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely. One more thing before we go. Beat the Streets is an amazing organization that is run throughout all of the boroughs of New York City that helps to get kids off of the streets and into wrestling rooms and give them the opportunity to enhance their lives through the sport of wrestling. And so this is their biggest fundraiser. And not only do we have the match between me and Ben Askren, but a lot of great matchups between the U.S. team and college superstars. And so it's going to be a ton of fun. Make sure you tune in May 6th. 6 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be an amazing event. Ariel, thank you again for having me. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much, Jordan. We'll talk to you soon. All the best to you.
Yes, sir.